For more on all of this, we have Danny Coulson. He is a former FBI Deputy Assistant Director and Hostage Rescue Team Commander. Jonna Spilbor is a defense attorney and former prosecutor. And Steve Rogers is a former member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force and a retired lieutenant commander in the Office of Naval Intelligence. And Steve, I'll start with you because you still know lots of people in the FBI. That one reporter got in there and said, wait a second, you say the rank and file has lost faith in former Director Comey, not the people we talked to. What are you actually hearing? What's the truth there?
There was one point in time where the confidence in Director Comey's leadership began to unravel, and that was the time that he was testifying before the Congressional Committee in reference to Hillary Clinton's emails. And if you remember, he made the decision, usurped the authority of the Attorney General, and it was the director, who's a fine fellow, there's no question about it, but he made the decision not to proceed with charges or prosecution. He should not have done that. It was his job to bring the evidence to the Attorney General, and
but that's how the rank and file felt? I mean, you're saying that the rank and file felt like that's why they didn't have confidence in him?
I could tell you the rank and file across the law enforcement board felt that way. I've spoken to police officers here at NYPD across the country. We all revere the FBI. That's the best agency on the face of the earth. But when the director did that, he shook the confidence of the rank and file. He did.
Danny, I wonder what you're hearing. And they mentioned that idea that he went out and he gave that testimony about Huma Abedin forwarding all these emails to her husband, Anthony Weiner, and then it turns out that's not the case. I mean, did he have the confidence or not?
Well, I think the whole thing started when the FBI was not allowed to have a grand jury in this case. That's a paramount issue for me and most FBI agents. Because remember, in a grand jury proceeding, it's all secret. So had it been a secret grand jury investigation run by the FBI, there would have never been a press conference. There would have been no discussion of it. They would have presented the case to the grand jury, and they would have gone ahead with prosecution or no prosecution. At that point, it's over. I think the most important thing here, it is not our job as an agency to recommend prosecution. That offended me. It offended every FBI agent I've ever talked to and every former agent. That is the big, I think that's the big dilemma here, is why did the director think he had the authority to recommend prosecution? Never happened in the history of the FBI, to my knowledge, and I think that was his undoing, frankly.
Yeah, Jonna, I mean, that was one of the most staggering things that came out of that hearing when he said, Director Comey said he would not do anything differently, when he said that he felt like he had to go out and make the decision because the Justice Department lacked the authority after that meeting on the tarmac. So he overstepped the bounds of what his authority was with that. That was one of the justifications in that memo firing him. Do you buy that? Does that make sense?
Well, I think once the president loses confidence in anybody, it's his absolute right to go ahead and fire. Just like if you're running any organization, you lose confidence in one of your key players, you're going to fire that person. However, James Comey is not the FBI. He's one part of the FBI. So it is, in terms of the intelligence investigation that's ongoing, that can continue without him. So I don't understand why the Democrats are so up in arms that all of a sudden now we need to get a special prosecutor or a special counsel in there when the investigation is not over.
We're going to talk about the hypocrisy in a moment, but Steve, let me ask you, so what happens from here? Because I think for a lot of people out there in the audience, the big issue now at this point is restoring confidence in all of this, in the FBI, also in this investigation into what may or may not have happened with Russia. How do you do that? I mean, is it about a special counsel?
Well, first of all, the young lady here is absolutely right. There's no single, there's no single point of failure or success. So the investigation will go on, number one. Number two, they got to get this Russia thing over with. There has been, and it appears that there will never be any strong evidence that there was collusion. That's got to go away, and we've got to move forward. And I don't believe that there is a need for a special prosecutor at this point. You've got these congressional hearings, these Senate hearings. Let the process work out within the framework of what we have now, and let's move on from there. And that's how you'll build the confidence up.
Yeah, Danny, how do you move the FBI forward to then come to a conclusion on the Russia question that then everyone accepts? Is that even possible?
Absolutely, it's possible. I think the comment that the director of the FBI is not the FBI, very frankly, I was the deputy assistant director of the FBI when Sessions was being investigated and ultimately terminated. During that period of time, it didn't change anything I did. It didn't change anything the FBI did. The FBI is a strong entity, and very frankly, if the director of the FBI didn't show up for work for 3 or 4 months, it wouldn't make any difference. His job, I know that sounds kind of flippant, but it doesn't make any difference. His job is to deal with Congress, deal with the White House, get assets, get our budget handled, and let the agents run the cases, and they will do that. And I spent the last 2 weeks with the FBI. They're working hard. They're not affected by this at all. They may not like it, but they're going to do their job.
But they're still continuing the investigation just like before. All right, we got to go. Thanks to all three of you. Great insight.